Welcome everybody to the Fantasy Golf Insider Webcast. I'm Jeff Bergerson, joined as always by my partner, Zachary Turcotte. Do not adjust your monitors. Yes, these green jackets are far too small for us. A tradition unlike any other, us trying to fit into these green jackets.
Did I get bigger this year?
Oh, yeah, right. That's where it's tight.
And all that lifting.
Contrary to popular belief, it is not easy to find forest green jackets anymore. So We're in these. We are with fantasygolfinsider.com, your number one resource for everything fantasy golf. If you are not excited about this week and the Masters, then I guess you're just not excited. But we are excited, and we want to give you all of the information to help you with your office pools, your one and dones,
any
your
weird
golf
contest,
betting,
any weird contest you can randomly throw at us, because I see about 3 or 4 of them each day, which is always exciting.
Yep, and of course, daily fantasy golf. So you need to sign up for one of our premium memberships. You can get in for as low as $12.99 a month, or you can go for the whole package for $29.99 a month. We give you the information on the webcast, but honestly, it's just kind of the tip of the iceberg with all of our tools and all of our articles each and every week. As is the case every week, Zachary, we go through FGI members who did well in GPP contests, and this week is no different. We got Craig Chinosky, who's not making his first appearance on these shout-outs. He's actually been on here several times. He took second in the $4,000 mulligan. Zach at DWalk19 on Twitter had his best week and nicest finish ever. Mike Volek had several nice finishes in GPPs. Loyal member Josh, who's at Ace of Blades on Twitter, took 16th out of 117,000 in the birdie last week. And finally, SBrew11 on Twitter, and actually that's his DK name, won the quarter arcade, of which there were 35,000 entrants in this week.
That's awesome. Like, you put $12.50 in there for 50 lineups. He won it. He had probably about 20 of his lineups at cash, so he turned $12.50 into probably about $500, which, yeah, I know for some of the bigger players out there, that's not always terribly exciting, but overall for him, that's a pretty nice win.
It's kind of a testament to how the process works at really any level of bankroll, which is what we're here for. If you don't have the largest bankroll, you're not entering $5,000 a week, or you don't want to risk that much, you don't have to.
That's what we encourage people to do. Start small.
Sure.
If you've got a couple $100, don't just go all out into the $3 birdie every week, because 1 or 2 bad weeks, and that is going to end up cleaning you out. Be patient with it. Take your time. Play cash games. Small GPP. Slowly build your bankroll up. Learn the game. Learn the players. And that's how you can have long-term success.
And win 30x on your money ain't too bad.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. If you want to give yourself the best chance to win these GPPs, you got 3 things to do. You got to be a premium member with us. Read Zach's 3-part article on GPPs. Everything's there. The data's there that you need to know. Then use all the tools on our site. My favorites are the sportsbook odds, the FGI model. Look at our ownerships, percentage predictions each and every week, and then read our articles. And you're going to gain more knowledge than anywhere else within the industry. That's all you need to do to be a winner in GPPs. Yep. Zachary, you want to recap the Shell Houston Open for us?
Well, it was an interesting event, to say the least. I'm always a little leery about events that come right before majors. I have a bad taste in my mouth from a couple years ago when, right out at the St. Jude, Dustin Johnson, who had perennially dominated the event, showed up, played 9 holes, complained that he was sick, and then bowed out with a withdrawal early on, destroying the vast majority of my cash lineups for the week. So I always tread a little bit lightly, but this event over the years, we haven't really seen too much mayhem in terms of what's happened before the cut. Unfortunately, I think this week with the weather reporting that was going on, and it's amazing how apocalyptic it becomes in the DFS golf world when you start talking about weather. But by the time these guys teed off on Thursday, I thought the end of the world was going to come in Houston. On Sunday, which, I mean, if we got rid of Houston, I don't know, maybe the trade-off wouldn't be that bad. But the way these guys were talking and the way it sounded like the golfers were worrying, it just threw everybody out of sorts at the beginning of the event. And we saw player after player just kick it in either Thursday or Friday. I'm not going to necessarily say it was on purpose, but I think a part of that just had to do with the fact that they just weren't entirely focused.
Yeah. It's
on
pretty
being
hard
there.
to imagine all of those top guys could
Right.
possibly miss that badly.
And so I don't think it was necessarily something that was intentional. I just think that they just took it a little lightly.
Yeah.
They took it more as like just a practice.
Yeah.
Overall, we're not seeing Spieth miss this sort of putts that
No.
that he usually was missing. I mean, there's a couple of guys. I mean, now we can probably just say it at this point that Henrik Stenson's game is just broken because he looked awful. Yet again, Patrick Reed, his troubles cropped up.
Right.
Although he did fight back on Friday, so it was to his credit. He's one of the guys who did at least make an attempt to get through. But a lot of quality players ended up missing the cut on Friday, which left a really interesting group left. I had a lot of the guys at the top again.
I did too.
I had probably 35 to 40% Henley. I have had 40% Ricky. I had a lot of John Rahm, who made a great surge. Unfortunately, I had a couple guys who just didn't show up that well, which, Cabrera, who hadn't missed a cut since the beginning of 2016, or had missed, I think, one cut since the beginning of 2016.
Yeah.
Missed an embarrassingly bad, he was not even
Baffling.
close. He was taking shots from the middle of the fairway after his drive and just planting them into the water. So he was all out of sorts. Phil looked a little bit uninspired. It was nice he did battle through and make the cut. I thought for certain Phil was he was right on the line the last 3 holes, and I thought he's just gonna slide one a little left or right on 18 and miss it, and he held his ground. He fought through. He gained some valuable points for me on Sunday, put together a birdie streak. I think he ended up with 4 birdies in the final round. So he gained some much needed points for my cash game team, but overall, again, losing Cabrera hurt a lot. Losing Adam Scott hurt quite a bit. I didn't own any Spieth or Stenson, but enough of those other guys around the top kind of derailed me. I actually was profitable. I split overall my cash games, so that was good. Ended up still really positive for GPP, and having the winner just having a couple guys come up a little bit short ended up kind of capping what could have been a really good weekend overall.
Okay.
How about you? Did you have anything successful go for you at all?
Not really. No, I was down a little bit in GPPs. Just too many guys missed the cut. I don't think I had any teams through with 6.
Really?
No, it was just grenade after grenade, and it seemed like each team had like one guy on it.
Yeah,
it's like you can never group anybody on those teams. It's always spread out. So
You didn't have enough Sung Kang ownership?
no, I didn't have any Sung Kang.
No.
No.
A few people did. Not too many though.
But no, Shell Houston Open's done. On to the Masters. Let's make some money. A couple other things to mention within the industry that just came out in the past couple of days.
This is always my
Why are you
favorite part.
smiling?
I get to hear you rant for the next couple of minutes.
I'm not going to rant. I'm not going to do it.
Just gonna pull up a spot right here and let you have the stage.
I'm not going to do it because
Are you bigger than that now?
like everyone else, I'm not going to say anything bad about them because they're king. But DraftKings decided to announce their Fantasy Golf World Championship. And despite what everyone else has said to them, they said they want a live final. They want to do like they had 2 years ago in Boston. Everyone loved it. Let's do that. They decided to go with what they did last year, which everyone seemed to hate. In another... Oh, you hated that? But I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I just won't play in it. So
No.
that's all there is to it.
And I won't play in 0 qualifiers for the entire thing.
Well, the whole setup, for those of you who haven't seen it or don't remember it from last year, it's basically you qualify for the tournament and you start, and it's over the 4 weeks of the FedEx Cup playoffs, with the final week being the Tour Championship, not the PGA Championship like they put on their website. But there's 30 guys in the field, and it's a no-cut event, obviously. So I don't know how you can have the world champion of fantasy golf with a 30-player field, bunch of duplicate lineups.
You can win the first 3 weeks. I mean, it doesn't matter. It all comes down to all it is an eliminator. So everything that we do for the entire season before that is a normal format where the winner each week makes all the money. But when you get to the championship, each round you're just trying not to get eliminated for the first 3 weeks. and then
which makes it
win
more
the
like a
last
cash
week.
game approach than a GPP
Yeah.
even. So
Yeah, which nobody liked.
no,
Nobody liked at all.
right.
And it's frustrating because we spent the last year talking about it and saying, like I was saying to Jeff before we went on camera, I can see some whiny ass idiot coming into the meeting, some little nerdy idiot who spends his entire day in front of the computer, showing up at the board meeting and saying, "Hey, I've got a great idea, you know? We had a really good final last year, but this could be even better." And then saying, you know, what if we haven't mirrored the FedEx Cup? And I can see just a bunch of out-of-touch morons in a boardroom going along and saying, yes, let's do this idea. And everybody hops on board with their groupthink. And then we've got a ridiculous contest like we had last year. And I can understand how you could make that mistake one time. But after the outpouring of information from everybody who solicited and unsolicited, because we'll give you plenty, to then come back with the exact same product with not one single change, well, it kind of rattles my cage a little bit, just a little bit.
Whiny little idiot?
Yeah,
really?
I guess.
Wow, that is harsh.
I suppose.
And you were worried about my rant? Holy smokes.
You weren't going to, so
No,
I had to
right.
pick it up and run with it.
The other thing that they announced today is that they're going to have weekend contests.
This will be interesting.
So there goes your Friday night, Zachary.
Yeah, I know.
We didn't have a life before. We have even less of a life now.
Yeah, so I mean, you will draft. I'm assuming that each week that the players will come out on Friday night to be redrafted.
Yep.
I'm not certain if it's just
No. I think they're going to keep the same field. I think they're just going to put a MC next to the guy's
prices
name.
will stay all
Prices
the
will stay
same.
the same, is what I'm guessing.
which is really interesting to try to
I
figure
like it.
out. I mean, it's
like
going to
it.
be, it'll be real different because I mean, your strategy in terms of who you're going to draft. Because now you're going to have guys who maybe underperform the first couple of rounds, like what we saw with Rory. Rory traditionally does this. He either shows up at the front half or the back half of events. So now if he's kind of down for the first couple of days, well, you feed your money there.
And there are no finishing points.
Right, so it's just scoring.
Sheer scoring. They were somehow able to change the hole-in-one scoring for this contest, but not the regular one.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't understand that, but I like the idea. It's going to take us a little bit of time to develop a formula and a strategy for it. I guess we'll take a peek this week and see what'll come of it. But I kind of like it, other than it'll just, zap more time from us. But oh well, whatever.
So our message, DraftKings, is we want to go to Miami for a live final. That's what we want. We want to fly somewhere nice.
Yep.
We want to have a party for a few days and cut loose. And we want to have a fight. It doesn't even have to be at an event.
Right.
Because I know that was a big thing. They couldn't do it in Boston.
Well, I'm quite certain you're going to have to qualify now because you're not going to get an invite.
Yeah. That's fine by me.
On to the Masters this week. I'm excited. You excited?
It's like Christmas.
You were headed to Augusta last year at this
That's why I'm
time.
a little sad.
Yeah.
A little bit sad.
Augusta National Golf Club, as we all know, 7,435 yards, par 72. A couple key points heading into the tournament this week. Remember the cut rule at the Masters. We have a, 95-player field or something like that?
94, I think 95.
Yeah, but the cut is the top 50 and ties. However, if you're within 10 strokes of the leader, you get through as well. So keep that in mind. Also, early weather reports. I was looking at it just a little bit ago.
Looks even nastier than last year for the winds.
And yeah, it looks way nastier than Houston last week too. Like 25 mile-an-hour winds with higher gusts on Thursday and Friday.
So it'll be...
It's going to be interesting.
A lot of the talk last week, like when you taped the special with Pat, was he was kind of talking about how you can probably throw out 2016 results because the winds, the weather was so high.
Right.
Let's bring them back in now, because I think the
Right.
2016 results may actually be some of the closest that we see in terms of mirroring the weather conditions overall. Because Saturday, Sunday, it looks like it gets calm again overall. So after you get through those first couple of days, it'll be all right. But getting through those early rounds, I mean, this tends to be a bomber course, but a lot of those guys now are going to have to worry about making sure that they don't get too far off the beaten path. I mean, the nice thing with Augusta is it's wide open to hit into off the tee, which is why the Bombers do gain that big advantage. But if you do get off into the woods, you're in a whole hell of a mess.
Right.
So
yeah, pay attention to the weather up until obviously tee off. I send out my email on Wednesday night, so I will give you up-to-the-minute weather reports and what I'm thinking as far as my strategy goes. If I'm doing any stacking or anything, I will definitely keep you in the loop. Key stats this week that we will be building our model around are strokes gained tee to green. Strokes gained putting is the second highest weighted stat this week, which says a lot about you want a good putter at Augusta. They're tough, slick greens, a lot of undulation. Very difficult to putt on, and good putters usually excel here.
There's some debate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I've heard it.
It does go back and forth, and because some guys say, well, there's putters who aren't so good who do tend to show up. You see Bubba's won a couple times, obviously not known.
Well, I've heard a couple people say it kind of equals out the playing field because it's tough on the good putters.
But it doesn't.
I don't agree with that.
It doesn't. I mean, it's tricky. You still want a guy who's competent from 5 feet away. I mean, the greens are going to be tougher, so it's instead of a putt being difficult from 7 or 8 feet, it's going to be difficult from 4 or 5 feet. So you're still going to have some amount of skill. I still feel a lot more comfortable with Jordan Spieth
than Russell Knox and Webb Simpson, you think?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And not going to level the playing field for them.
Well, and I think it matters more if we're looking at wins being higher, because we're going to see a lower scoring type of event where everything saving par is going to be probably a little more at a premium this week overall, because if the score is only -5, it's going to be just guys who are able to limit mistakes, not necessarily guys who are scoring. And that's sort of the game that Jordan Spieth played there last year, and it's kind of his game in general. He's not a pin seeker. He's not a guy who's always drilling fairways. So it should help out with certain players. It's going to be a little bit detrimental to other guys. But I definitely do think it's important. I think it matters more kind of depending on the year and what the conditions, though, look like overall. Also, scrambling, birdies are better, par 5 scoring, and as you mentioned, driving distance favors the Bombers. The exact weightings will be built into our model, our FGI model, on the website, so be sure to check that out. Statboy is working hard on that right now. You can hear him clicking away back in the corner.
He's over there. Hi, Statboy. It's coming out soon, guys. So let's break down the field, Zachary. Obviously, the big question is whether to DJ or whether not to DJ. That is the question.
Am I supposed to give an answer?
I don't know if you're supposed to give an answer. I think there's a couple trains of thought on that. I think he is going to be heavily owned, so you either try and be way overweight on him, which is going to take a high weighting, high exposure to, or just a complete fade of him.
Yeah, and I think you have to go one or the other, especially in the Millionaire Maker. You have to make a statement with your top pick, who that guy is, because if you're going to play, I mean, if you're in the Millionaire Maker, it's a low percentage event anyway. It's a lottery ticket. But even if you're doing 150 entries and there's, 130,000 seats or something like that?
You doing 150 entries?
I don't know about that either. That's a pretty good chunk of change for an event like this. But and the things that make it tougher, right, is that there's only 94 guys that are in this field, but out of those 94,
there's about 16 guys that have zero chance.
Right? Yeah. I mean, there's 20 to 25 guys that I would absolutely not even consider rostering. So that is going to shrink your player pool to under 70 players. Now we're looking at almost like one of the WGC events that are out there, and with 130,000 plus lineups. It's very, very difficult to differentiate yourself from a lot of the other teams, as opposed to the other majors where you've got pretty much a wide open field overall. So that's definitely something you have to consider. So you really do. You can't get away with picking your top guy and being like 30% and then just hoping, I need to hit the rest of these perfect. Because if you got 30% of DJ, okay, you're assuming he makes the cut. You're probably going to have a few guys, regardless of the fact that it's a smaller field, regardless of the liberal cut rules, you're going to have guys that are going to fall off. Last year, all kinds of players ended up blowing the cut.
They did. Even
with as high of a line as it was, there were still plenty of guys who ended up missing overall. So you figure if you get 30 teams through out of 100, maybe 5-6 of them have DJ that are complete 6 of 6s, as opposed to if you're 70% or 100%, well, maybe now you've got 18 to 20. So that's where you really have to decide, because I really do feel strongly that we're going to see a winner out of the top echelon, a top group of guys there this year. So I think you have to kind of make a statement right there at the top and be really all or nothing with DJ. And my lean is to be towards all at this point.
All? Oh,
my lean is towards all. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people are gonna. The last time I keep trying to talk my way out of it, like I did a few weeks, like I've done a couple times with DJ earlier this season, where I said, well, everybody in the field's gonna own them, and so I got to pivot over to this guy over here and play the game theory. And I think DJ is just in the zone overall this year. He is on the path to having a very special season. Overall, obviously the hottest player. Everything about his game right now lines up. I mean, there's not really any real weakness that you can point to anymore. He's already conquered a major, so he doesn't have that moment of, well, we used to be able to say, well, it's DJ, so he's going to choke on Sundays. Well, now he just wins WGCs and he wins at majors. He's been really good at Augusta over the last couple of years, so it wouldn't be any real shock for him to show up at this event. And weaknesses that he used to have where his putting was a problem, like a real problem, it's actually turned into a strength for him now. So not only is he the best ball striker out there, but he can putt pretty well. He can gain strokes with his putter. So I'm not going to fight it.
What do you think ownership is going to look like amongst this top 6 or 7 guys?
I think that
I think Dustin's going to obviously be the
Dustin will be the top guy. He'll probably be in the 30s. He'll probably be in the 30s.
Who do you think second?
I think Rory probably comes in the mid to high 20s. I think Spieth comes in right around 20 or so. He's been gaining momentum.
Yeah,
if you're listening to the top world, this is why a lot of people say, "Are you going to put your daily spin out early this week? You need to put it out early." I'm not, because I want to hear where everybody is moving in terms of their shares. And what I'm hearing in a lot of these previews is there is a lot of Spieth momentum. I didn't think there was going to be, but originally I thought maybe his ownership would come in at like 15. I'm guessing it probably comes in close to 20. I think Rory's comes in mid-20s. And I think Ricky Fowler is also going to gain a ton of momentum. Sure. His price down at like 9,300. That's really low for a player who's been playing as well as he has so far this year. And in a course that really does accommodate his particular style play, where he takes big risks coming off the tee. And you can get away with that out here at Augusta without being penalized as heavily. So I think
I'm not going to
those guys will be popular.
I'm not going to give away what I'm going to do.
You're not going to give anything out at the top?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's outrageous.
What a
rip off.
My column.
I want my money back.
Oh, what? So I'll put my article out tonight or tomorrow morning with what I'm going to do with the top there.
It is a key pick.
Absolutely,
most weeks you got to get away with throwing a couple of names out there at the top.
You have to decide. I think the first decision is you have to decide what you're doing up top.
With DJ, I mean, it's which of those top 3 is your guy? Because beyond that, you can stack anybody else with those guys.
Right.
You know, you can do DJ. You can go DJ Rahm all you want all day. DJ Scott. I mean, you can take a couple of those guys up there.
But if you do DJ Rahm, you better go contrarian with a couple of your other guys, because those guys are going to be probably the 2 heaviest owned guys.
And I think
in the field this week.
Rahm's probably going to come in the mid-20s this week.
Yeah,
I don't know that he hits 30, but
probably not. My thought is that
because there's so much, there's a lot of buzz that rookie. And here's the thing: everybody's going to be thinking rookies can't win, and that just kind of builds and builds up in people's heads.
I think there's that,
and they pull back a little bit. Yeah. But there's also a little bit of familiarity with a lot of novice-type players that
in the
come
Millie
into the
Maker. There are more novices, yes. Because they don't know who John Rahm is.
Yeah, so and I don't know that that's going to be a huge issue this year, but there's enough in there that
it'll keep it from him being 40%.
It'll clip it down, I think, from keeping it excessive. Yep. Yes, for sure. So all right, so if you're not giving us any information at all at the top,
all right,
why don't you tell me something useful about the middle then?
All right, the middle, there's a few guys, and what I started is I just took the salaries and I crossed off several names.
Oh, it was easy this year,
that I will be fading completely.
It's scary this year how easy it is. It almost makes me fearful that there really will be a lot of clustering around just a handful of these guys.
I can't do it with Patrick Reed anymore.
No.
He's my guy.
No, not
and I actually had I had him. I thought he was going to do well in the Masters at the start of the year. I'm like, he's my guy in the Masters. And now I get to this point, and it's gotten so bad.
Yeah.
There's something off there.
You and Feinberg are going to go through an existential crisis here, trying to figure out what to make of Patrick Reed.
Well, if he wins, there will be a crisis because I'll be banging my head on the table. But, and what's sick is I don't like Patrick Reed, and I kind of like Paul Casey, which is really irking me, and I don't like myself for it.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I mean, the thing with Patrick Reed right now is the areas of strength where he's usually good, he's really bad. His approach game is just it's just way out of sorts. And the scrambling, that's usually an area where he's got a weapon, and that's something you'll like to see at Augusta. If all other areas of your game are on, if you can scramble and putt, like him and Snedeker can, then you can kind of sneak up there. But he doesn't have that going in any way, shape, or form right now, which... Yeah, I think makes him him and Stenson for me are very, very easy fades.
Do you think the weather is going to be so atrocious that it's going to throw some randomness in here that we should start targeting maybe more guys in the 5% ownership than we normally would just because of that?
Maybe, but I think it gets back to what do you want to weight this week. So I think if the winds are going to be that bad, guys are going to have a harder time hitting greens. I mean, these greens are basically hills. They just kind of plant the pin at any random part of the hill that they want, and the ball goes all over the place. But what's going to make it tough is you can have a guy who hits the green with his approach shot, and the ball just rolls off one edge or the other. So you're going to have to be good around the green, particularly so in the wind. So I think there are some statistics. If you want to weight scrambling up a little bit higher and see what names pop out, if you want to weight strokes gained around the green, see what names pop up. A lot of these European players that come over here, they're used to playing in kind of crazy conditions, so that if you pick out 3 or 4 of these guys and just take a look at them and say, all right, well, how has this guy handled conditions over the years? Because it tends to be reasonably good. And we saw a couple of the European names that that did do pretty well last year. I mean, Lee Westwood came out of nowhere, managed the second place finish. Paul Casey, 4th place, and he was up there. Matthew Fitzpatrick was in 7th place.
Cabrera played well.
So a lot of these guys who did, Grillo was good last year. So I think that can be a way to differentiate. So start looking at some of these names. I'm not going to say necessarily who to look at for certain guys that'll be on, but you saw Ross Fisher was added today. And you see a guy he wouldn't necessarily consider like a big hitter, like an Andy Sullivan. These guys in windy conditions probably may, even a guy like Lowry may make a little bit more sense. With the course the way that it's going to be at this week. And these are all guys, again, who are going to have those lower ownership. Although I think Louis, given some of the early season buzz around his odds, I know there's a lot of guys in the handicapping world that have been on him. So maybe
you think he'll be more than 10, 11%?
I think 12. I think 10 to 12. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of the range that I look at him at.
I don't think much more than that.
You got Sergio right there too at 8,300.
You do, and I think most people's their roster composition is going to have the big guy and maybe Rahm, and then they're going to have to be down in that 7K range. So I think the 8K range would be kind of the sweet spot for some contrarian.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pretty solid names that are right there overall. So.
Yeah, Schwartzel too at 7,900.
I think Tyrrell Hatton will be very popular.
I think he will be.
A lot of buzz. I would love to put him out there, but there's another Euro I think could definitely show up. And I know he's a first timer, but get that philosophy out of your head too. There's a lot of people out there saying, well, this guy can't win. This guy can't win. You can't put him on your team. He can't win. Let me ask you a simple question, Jeffrey. How many guys of your 6 can win during the week?
Let me see. 1, carry the 1. Just 1.
Just 1! Oh, right. Yeah. So if the other guy's top 10, is that okay with you? If you had a $7,600 player on your team as a rookie and he took, say, 6th place, would that work? Would that be okay?
I'm okay with that. The goal, I guess, is to get all 6 in the top 10. Last year, the Millie Maker team actually had Troy Merritt, which took like 42nd. So he had Spieth and Westwood, who tied for second with obviously Danny Willett. He had Casey and Matsuyama as well, both in the top 10. So the idea is to get everyone in the top 10. So yeah, if you can get a $7,000 guy.
You mentioned a name that I want to jump back up to, and I'm going to ask you. What do you think about Hideki this week?
Possible contrarian, because I think he's going to be owned by probably under 15%.
Yeah, it's coming down. Buzz is definitely died off from the
definitely
start of the
down.
season.
Obviously, elite player in the world. And like I said when I was on with Pat Mayo, he said how many experts would have picked Hideki Matsuyama to win the Masters at the start of the season. And I was one of them. Because I loved Hideki coming in, and I still don't not like him this year. I think, guys go through ups and downs, and I think this isn't what we're going to see from Hideki forever.
No.
So if you want a guy who's going to be, an elite guy in the world who can win, Hideki can do it.
Good ball striker, good around the greens.
Absolutely. Has played well here.
Yeah.
So him and Day, I think, would be the targets if you're going for contrarian. Now, Jason Day is a whole nother issue with his mom who's sick, and we don't know how he is going to be mentally, but hey, if you're throwing a couple darts, you're going to get Jason Day, obviously
5%.
5 to 8%, I think.
There may be a couple of pros out there who dive in at 100%.
They might they might skew the ownership.
But even still, with only 150 shares, it's still tough to push it up one way or the other too much. So I think you get him at a low.
But if you want him overweight, it wouldn't take that much. If you just had him in
10%,
10%, you're probably going to be overweight. So
for sure,
I will probably be mixing him in a few lineups just to say what the hell. So
interesting.
Dropping down a little bit, let's go into the low 7K and 6K range. Give me a couple names.
A couple guys got added today that I think you definitely have to take a look at. In Russell Henley, who's been great this season overall.
He looked okay last week.
You could feel him. You could feel him trending along, and then he played just outstanding golf on Sunday. And he's a guy he's a Georgia boy.
He is.
He's a Bulldog. He's got good Masters experience. I think he was on the winning Millionaire Maker squad two seasons ago, because he was one of those guys along with Charlie Hoffman and Kevin Na that were grossly underpriced. He's not priced that much higher at $7,200 this week. So all parts of his game work out well. He's got good experience here the last couple of times he started. I think that's a good name. And then I think Leishman's he's been playing really good golf as well. I mean, a couple of years ago he went through some issues where his wife was battling some pretty severe health issues, so he did have some problems. He struggled. Last season, it was a top 25 machine. You could count on him to finish anywhere between 20th to 25th pretty much every single week, and then he finally broke through this season with a win. Getting him at $7,100, I think, is a good price. I think both those names probably will attract a little bit of attention. Do you have a couple of names down there that may draw a little bit less?
It's hard not to like Adam Hadwin, but I don't think he's going to attract any less.
Yeah, there's a few names that are right there. I think Hadwin definitely... The way he's played this season, how all parts of his game
I think he's going to be pretty popular.
Are so strong, but so is Kevin Kisner. I think the reason all these guys will be popular is because what you're going to see with a lot of lineups in terms of construction of that, a lot of guys are going to start out with Spieth DJ Rory, Spieth Rory up at the top. It's not going to leave them very much down below. So the bottom part of their lineup is going to go Leishman, Kisner, Hadwin, Vegas. There's some iteration of about 6 or 7 guys that they can kind of rotate around the couple there that they're stuffing in up at the top.
So. A little bit interesting name at 6,500 is Soren Kjeldsen.
Okay.
Now we talk about European, played well here last year.
7th place last year. He's good around the greens.
Sneaky. I don't think he's going to be highly owned. Not a lot of people even know who the hell he is.
Started this season really slow. I had an eye on him. I watched him. I played him a little bit.
He's been playing.
He started
better,
really slow, but the last month has actually been very good. And then he had a pretty impressive win over Rory the other week. I know it's one round. Anything can happen in a round, but beating Rory heads up anywhere is good. So definitely somebody to consider.
Anything else you want to add for the Masters before we tune out here?
I think a lot of people are going to get obsessed with playing in the GPPs this week.
Good point. I didn't think of that.
This is a week where you can win a lot of money in cash games.
I agree.
We have crushed cash game in the last 2-3 years. If you just were to skip the Millionaire Maker completely, skip all these GPPs that are out there, and just put 100% of your bankroll on cash and play solid lineups this
100%
week.
100% of your weekly bankroll.
100% of your entire bankroll.
Of your entire life savings.
401k. But I mean, if you just put it in on cash games this week, and you pick your 3 or 4 teams that you're going to do each week, and you center around good quality core players, you've got a very good chance of being profitable, because the majors have almost always been really profitable as far as cash games go. So if you've been struggling, or if you're a little disenchanted with cash games, this is a pretty nice week to rally overall, especially with the softer pricing. You can put together a very solid squad. You don't have to worry about trying to be contrarian and finding the random British guy who's going to pop up and finish in the top 10. You can just play it real straight because it's very easy to put together great teams.
Yeah, I will have a lot of money in cash, but I always play GPPs because I need a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Shiny $1 million prize.
Well, we talk about this, and I mean, everyday life is a grind. I don't want to just grind cash games my whole life. That's a fucking grind. So I play both. I want a shot at some big money. That's why I play GPPs.
How about a live final trip to like Miami or something?
That would do it too. That would add a little interest.
If only there was something available to us.
How about a live
like that
final that eliminates guys each week, and you sit here and try and come up with a above average team.
Play on my couch and tell kids to shut up. I mean, that's
shut up! I gotta watch this.
Watching golf.
So that's going to do it for this week's show. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Thank you for all being loyal members of FGI. We don't take that for granted. Find us on Twitter at Fantasy Golfers. You can always email us too at info@fantasygolfinsider.com. Last minute lineup questions. Zach will be doing Periscope on Wednesday night. And check out my email that I send out with the last minute weather reports. If there happen to be any withdrawals, you guys would have to be pretty sick to withdraw from the Masters. But if there is one, I'll let you know.
It's a rare week we don't have to deal with that. Sweet.
Let us know how you're doing in GPPs this weekend. We want to see some updates, and we obviously would like to have an FGI member win the $1 million.
We'll send you a T-shirt to go with the $1 million.
That's right. Amazing. So best of luck this week, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.
Good luck.